How's it going, everyone? It's Javi from Where's Fun Shot 1000. Today is June 19th, 2020, and we're gonna take a look at the current forecast, or at least my current forecast for the Atlantic hurricane season of 2020. Because I did one about 1 month ago, but I felt like enough factors and enough forecasts and enough weather patterns have changed enough to prompt another video and another update video on this. So let's begin by first looking at the current sea surface temperature anomaly all across the Atlantic, which is one of the most important factors when it comes to predicting how the hurricane season is gonna play out over the next several months. And it's currently June, so there's still a long way to go. We're just in the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season. It doesn't get active until August or September. So keep that in mind. These sea surface temperature anomalies could change. However, it doesn't seem like it's going to change drastically, which is unfortunate because if we take a look at the main development region, it's all warmer than average this year. And that's extremely worrying. And it's only gotten worse since the last time I did a video for you guys, which was about a month ago. Because last month, while it was slightly above average, it wasn't that much above average to make potentially a major effect just yet. However, those sea surface temperatures had warmed up dramatically all throughout the main development region, which pretty much extends from the western coast of Africa all the way to the Caribbean islands. So we're seeing just a huge area of much warmer than average sea surface temperatures with no real area that's below average in terms of sea surface temperature like last month, except just off the coast of Western Africa. However, this won't be enough at all to hinder tropical cyclone development, especially since a lot of tropical cyclones in the main development region usually develop right around this point, well far out from the western coast of the Atlantic. This could definitely change. It's hopeful that these sea surface temperatures will cool down as the over the next several months. However, a lot of the forecast models and most meteorologists aren't predicting a dramatic change over this region, and it's gonna stay well above average in terms of sea surface temperatures, and that's worrying because this is the main development region. This is where the most tropical cyclones tend to develop, and this area being well above average for this time of the year in terms of sea surface temperatures likely means we're gonna see an above average year, since this is an area where most tropical cyclones usually develop in the during the Atlantic hurricane season. And then if we take a look at the Caribbean, which is also a prominent spot for hurricane development, especially in the earlier months and even in October. And if we take a look at this region, it's also well above average for the most part, besides maybe the Gulf of Mexico, which is currently cooler than average. And I think the reason why is because Cristobal was pretty much upwelling a lot of the cooler waters that's under the sea surface. So we got a lot of cooler waters as a result of Cristobal bringing high waves and upwelling that cooler, deeper ocean water, and also dumping a lot of rain over this region, which cooled down the sea surface temperatures quite dramatically as Cristobal moved north. However, for the most part, the Caribbean is well above average for this time of the year, which is also another worry. And just right here is well above average for this time of the year, and that's likely going to bring a very active Caribbean as well when it comes to tropical cyclone development. If we move our focus to the north, and you might be thinking that the good news is that this portion of the Atlantic pretty much throughout the east coast of the United States, extending all the way through the northern Atlantic around the 30 to 40 degree latitude lines. It's, for the most part, it's cooler than average. And you might be thinking that that's great news since there's less likely to be tropical cyclone development in this region. However, I wouldn't really consider it good news or a major factor in terms of how many tropical cyclones will develop over the next several months, because in this area it's very uncommon for tropical cyclones to develop in this area. I wouldn't say it's impossible at all. Certainly last year proved that we saw a lot of tropical cyclones develop last year. However, I kind of see last year as an anomaly, and for the most part tropical cyclones do not tend to develop in this area, and even if they do, they're mostly fish storms, so they don't really affect anyone anyways if they do develop in this region, which isn't as common as having a tropical cyclone develop in the main development region or the Caribbean. So I wouldn't consider this at all great news that it's cooler than average, since it's already uncommon. Tropical cyclones don't usually develop much. Tropical cyclones, I should say, don't usually develop much in this area. And in fact, I believe that these cooler waters, the cooler sea surface temperatures all throughout the more northern part of the Atlantic could actually enhance the hurricane season, because what's also needed for tropical cyclone development is an area of sinking air, and an area where hurricanes could pretty much release all of its air aloft that the hurricane's convection initially brought up from the surface. And with this like area of cooler than average sea surface temperatures, that it likely means that as a result of these cooler than average sea surface temperatures, there's going to be more stable air in that region. And unfortunately, that means there might be a stronger ridge in this area, and that ridge could enhance hurricane development, because a hurricane will have an area of stable air just to the north of it to release a lot of its air aloft that was initially brought up by the convection that was surrounding the surface, the low pressure surface. So in my opinion, that these cooler than average sea surface temperatures will enhance the hurricane season, because the hurricanes will have an area to release a lot of its air in a stable area, and in a probably stronger than usual ridge of high pressure as a result of these cooler sea surface temperatures. So that's definitely, in my opinion, not good news that we're seeing well above average sea surface temperatures all throughout the Caribbean and the main development region, and cooler than average sea surface temperatures up to the north where tropical cyclones are uncommon. And this area has and it's an area where hurricanes could release a lot of its air aloft. So in terms of the Atlantic, it seems like it's going to be a very active season in terms of tropical cyclone development. However, there's another big factor we need to check out in determining whether this will be an active hurricane season or not, and that's the El Nino and La Nina phases that we need to check out. That extends throughout the eastern Pacific, right around the equator region. So let's currently take a look at the sea surface temperatures anomaly as of right now, and this is as of May 25th, 2020. So it's a little bit out of date since it is probably, I think it's almost like a month ago, and according to forecast models, and the La Nina phase is getting more and more likely, which means that sea surface temperatures throughout this region are likely to be much lower departure from average than it was, let's say, May 25th, 2020. So if we take a look, so the most important area to take a look at is between the 110 area extending all the way to maybe 150, 160 degree longitude lines, because this is an area where most forecasters would define whether El Nino or La Nina or neutral phase is strong, and between these regions it's cooler than average, which means that a La Nina is becoming more and more likely, and a El Nino is becoming less and less likely, which is definitely a huge worry. And since last month, it seems like the La Nina is getting more and more likely, as this chart I'm gonna show you currently shows. So this, as of I think this was updated only about a week ago. So this is updated from May, and you could see that the most active months like August and September, the La Nina forecast and probability and the neutral forecast probability is pretty much half and half at this point, with an El Nino phase at this point becoming extremely unlikely at less than 10% in September, the most active part of the hurricane season. And if you guys don't know, La Nina, when there's a La Nina phase, it favors tropical cyclone development in the Atlantic, because since sea surface temperatures in the Pacific are cooler than average, that means there's more stable air over the Pacific, which and pretty much all throughout the world, when there's rising air in one area, there has to be an equal amount of sinking air in another. And since the sea surface temperatures during a La Nina phase are cooler than average usually, like this map states right here, that means there's going to be more stable air in this region, since that warmer sea surface temperature water isn't going to give enough energy to make that air unstable and cause convection. And since there's more stable air in this region, it allows the hurricane season the Atlantic to pretty much have a free-for-all when it comes to tropical cyclone development, since there's more likely to be unstable air and less stable air in this region, since there's stable air in this region. And the opposite goes for an El Nino phase. When there's warmer than average water temperatures throughout this region, that means there's more rising air in this region. And since that air that aloft has to sink somewhere, it sinks in the Atlantic usually during an El Nino phase. However, it seems like the La Nina is becoming more likely, which means that we're more likely to see a more active hurricane season, combined with the fact that sea surface temperatures are going to be much warmer than average. It seems almost pretty much guaranteed that there's going to be a more active than usual hurricane season. And even if there's a neutral phase, there's still a more likely chance we're going to see it's still a highly likely chance we're going to see a more active than usual hurricane season, because if I compare it to other active hurricane seasons like 2017, 2005, 2004, they weren't exactly, while they were La Nina, they weren't 100% fully La Nina, I noticed, and they were somewhat neutral during a couple months. So just because it's a neutral state does not mean that there's a chance that this will be less active than average, as I still firmly believe this will be more active than average hurricane season, as the forecast states, since there's pretty much a 50% chance we're going to see either a neutral or La Nina forecast phase. And along with the higher Atlantic sea surface temperatures, it's more likely to be above average. And then what adds on to this prediction, unfortunately, is the CFS model, my bad. And if we take a look at the forecast model, this is currently as of right now. And if we take the average of what the CFS model is currently taking to when it comes to sea surface temperatures in the Nino 3.4 region, where forecasters usually define whether or not a phase is currently at La Nina or El Nino, you see that their average forecast goes below the negative 0.5 degrees Celsius threshold, which means that it's gonna be La Nina if it does that. And currently the average forecast model is predicting that to occur and nearly be 1 degree Celsius departure from average in terms of sea surface temperatures in that region, which means that a La Nina is getting more and more likely, as the CFS model currently states, and this as of June 15th, so only 4 days ago. So, and if we take a look at these maps, you see that between the months of September, October, November, La Nina is just dominating as the CFS is suggesting. So I'm currently expecting maybe a slightly higher chance of a La Nina than even a neutral season. However, it still could go either way, but I think at this point I could almost guarantee this will be a more active than usual hurricane season. We can't really determine where exactly it'll hit, and but remember, just one storm could completely devastate and change lives of thousands and millions. So definitely keep that in mind when it comes to hurricane season. And with all that said, this was my original forecast from May 21st, 2020. So about a month ago. It's June 19th, 2020. And my original forecast was still more active than usual. I predicted the total storm amount to be at 19, and I predicted 9 hurricanes, which is above the average of 7, and I predicted 4 major hurricanes, which is above the average of 3. However, real time, I'm gonna change it right now. I'm gonna change it right now because based off what I've been seeing and based off the fact that we already saw 3 named storms before June 5th, which is a record and hasn't been seen before in recorded history. Along with that, and along with the fact that the forecast models are gaining more and more confidence, a La Nina is going to occur, and that we're seeing higher than usual. Now we're really seeing higher than usual sea surface temperatures all throughout the main development region in the Atlantic. I'm going to raise my forecast prediction from 19 to 22 total named storms for this year. And in terms of hurricanes, I'm gonna raise that prediction to maybe 11 or 12. I guess 11, yeah. And then when it comes to major I'm gonna raise it to 12 because I think hurricanes are gonna are more likely to get strong with the higher than usual sea surface temperatures. And major hurricanes, I'm predicting 6, which is nearly twice the average for than usual for the hurricane season. So this is my current prediction. This will be quite an active season if this goes through, and this could potentially be in the record books. I won't even rule that out since based off of everything we're seeing. However, I'm still gonna predict it a little bit more conservative in this way. But all signs are pretty much pointing to a more active than usual hurricane season. But yeah, I guess is it for this video. Make sure to prepare if you're along the coast or if you're prone to hurricanes well before. It's better to be safe than sorry, especially before a hurricane comes right at your doorstep. So definitely keep in mind, watch for the hurricane season throughout the next several months. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. This is it for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you like this content, and make sure to like if you want to see more, and I hope you guys have a good day.